join. All right.
There we go. It's included.
All right, you are included now. So
Yes.
let me go and listen, because this is why right here, why I do sound checks, because stupid funky stuff like this happens. So let me go listen. Go to Twitch. See if we can hear you. Hold on. Pull up the Twitch.
Ugh,
All right,
Jesus.
hold on.
Got me sweating and shit already.
That's pause, but give me just a second to see if I can hear you on the stream. Hold on. Alright. Alright, say something for me, sir.
What's up? Alright, I hope you can hear me.
Alright, let's find out. Hold on. The delay on my stream is a little something there. Alright, say something for me, sir.
What's up?
Alright, there we go.
There we go.
Are live. Jesus. 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 That is what I tell my kids to say whenever they get extremely annoyed and irritated and they don't know what to do with their feelings. I tell them to say Jesus over and over. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are here. The Hurdle, episode 3. I don't even know what to describe. I actually had a very kind, very generous opening that I was going to have for you until all of this stupid microphone stuff popped up. So now I don't even know how to describe you right now. So how about you describe yourself?
Alright, I'm Nate, aka Nasty Nate, aka the Giants owner.
We're not going to, so first and foremost, we're not going to call yourself Nasty Nate on my stream.
Alright.
That's one thing we're not doing. So let me just set the ground rules real quick. Okay. So first and foremost, we're not doing the gay innuendos of any sort.
Alright.
Okay? None of it. Alright? So calling yourself these little nicknames and stuff, we're not doing that.
Alright.
We're not doing that. Alright. Second of all, alright, I'm going to give you questions. You're going to try your best to answer without going hardcore slander.
Alright.
Okay?
Alright.
That's not this podcast.
Alright.
This podcast is more so about you and what your thoughts, your feelings and stuff about everything that I'm going to ask you. And then if you have a little extra to put in there, you can put that in there, but try not to go off the deep end with slandering, please.
Alright. Alright. I got it.
Alright. Alright, so let me put this again. Alright, we are live. Again.
Lord.
Alright. Stream, set. I just posted that in the chat. Alright. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. As Nate has very clearly said, besides the gay part, he is here joining me this evening. Nate, why don't you tell us, in general, tell us what team you use, tell us about yourself very briefly. For the people who joined after you, tell them how long you've been in the league. Why don't you give us a little preview of you? Go for it.
Yeah, I'm Nate, I'm the Giants owner. I'm a recent high school graduate, and I've been in the league for a little over a season now. I think 18 games I've played.
Yeah, I want to say probably about a full season now.
Yep.
Okay. Well, first and foremost, Nate, as one of our newer users in the SFL, SFL has been around since 2011.
Jesus.
And before that, there was a league called the ACQB, which is the Armchair Quarterback League, or was it? Hold on, ACQB, Armchair Quarterback, ACQB, something. I don't know. I forgot the last letter of the acronym.
All right.
Pretty much this league used to be another league, and then this league branched off with the creator of this league named Dub40. Q was kind of like a co-commissioner / like admin, and then Q took over once Dub40 left, and then Q's ran this league for like a decade or so. Old fart. You might see him screaming at clouds on a rocking chair in front of a patio somewhere. But he is a good-hearted fellow overall. That's why a lot of us have stuck around, because he runs a very tight ship, runs a very clean league. There's some, aspects that are maybe not as sim as we initially desired, but we ultimately try our best to run a simulation-style football league. So you gave me an intro, I gave you an intro back, just so you kind of understand, like, hey, you're here in the league, you kind of just joined in the chat and just start talking up a storm and talking trash to people.
Yeah,
That's cool, but there's a little bit of background about the SFL. We've been here for a while. A lot of us have almost essentially grown up with each other on, Madden and on the Xbox and stuff. So yeah, a lot of us have close connections, and we're most of us are pretty tight with each other. So just letting you know that. Okay, so let's talk some football finally, because we spent an enormous amount of time with the stupid stuff.
Indeed.
Trying to get your microphone situated. So let's talk football. So first and foremost, let's talk about the first thing that I've actually been kind of curious about. You initially were a part of the team draft that was supposed to occur after the franchise that we initially had died. So you were supposed to be a part of this, and you backed out.
I did.
And I'm assuming you backed out because the Packers became unavailable?
Yeah,
Did I guess that right?
once Stark said he was coming back, then I had dropped out. It was either
Okay,
Packers or bust for me.
Okay. Did you feel like there was any other team? Because, no offense, your Giant squad prior to you getting the Giants weren't exactly the very best squad.
Nah, they were horrible.
So they were horrible. So there were other teams like the Bengals, like Titans, the Raiders even, that had better overalls than what you're currently working with. Heck, I think the Jets were out there too. So what was your thought process with, okay, it's either Packers or bust, even though there's other teams out here that could really benefit me and my style of play more so than this Giants team?
It was just more of like, I didn't want to get stuck at the end of the draft and get stuck with like the Rams or the Texans. That was kind of my thought
That would
process.
have been miserable.
Yeah, that would have been miserable.
Now I will say, my favorite thing about those kind of teams is that typically a lot of those teams have like extra draft picks. I mean, the Rams,
They
not
have
really,
nothing.
but yeah, the Rams have nothing but Ramsey and Darnold, what's his name, Aaron Donald.
Yeah.
And which, in my opinion, my immediate thing would be to trade Donald. As soon as if I were to get the Rams, I'd be like, hey, Donald's out here, send me whatever you got. And
Yeah.
I'm going to get as much talent as I can and try to pour resources into the rest of the roster. But I digress. That's a whole nother subject for Brad and his team. Or I think that's Stacks now. Stacks and his team.
It is.
So first and foremost, okay, Giants. So you stuck with this team, and we're gonna kind of bring some things forward that I was gonna ask you later. I'm gonna ask you now.
All right.
What about this Giants team? Like when it was Packers or bust. What about this Giants team was enticing enough for you to say, okay, if the Packers don't work out, I am content with staying with this team? What aspect of your roster, of the Giants roster, were you fine with that made you say that?
They had a very good defensive line, and on the offensive side of the ball, they were just really young everywhere. So that's probably the biggest reason why. Because I care about the defensive line and the offense more than anything.
So you don't really, not that you don't care per se, but you're not really just like, okay, I want to have a team with a deep secondary, or I want to have a team that, maybe has those off-ball linebackers that, can get sideline to sideline. Like, does that stuff matter to you, or is it just pass rush and what my offense can do, and that's it?
I mean, really, like for me, defensively, I just care about if they can get to the quarterback quick and if they can stop the run. Because I mean, you don't really have to have a good secondary if they can get to the quarterback real quick. You can kind of rely on your defensive line to do all the work.
Okay, and you know what? This is a perfect segue into the next topic, which is talking about your gameplay. So you like having a strong offense, you like having a good defensive line. So let's talk offense first. So offensively, I've noticed a few things when you initially joined the league, and this is just from my perspective only. So I noticed you knew how to read a defense. I also noticed you knew how to attack certain coverages, and you had audibles presented or audibles already prepared to be able to attack these different coverages. So let me ask you this, and maybe this will be a little educational for those out there that are not as coherent offensively when reading coverages. What exactly do you think when you say when I say to you, okay, tell me about your offense, what exactly do you think of? What exactly is your mentality and your mindset? Where does your mind go when I ask you about your offense and how it typically is versus what you're actually doing with the Giants or trying to do with the Giants?
I mean, best case scenario, I have a couple superstar wide receivers, and I can just hit them over and over again over the middle until I kind of fall asleep, and then once I see like a single high safety, I'll just try to bomb them over the top or something like that. I mean, with this team, I didn't really have that option year one to do that, so I kind of just had to take my 10, 20-yard throws over and over again and rely on that
Okay.
the whole game. And I think ultimately that's why I didn't make the playoffs, but I like the team we have this year, and I think we can adjust.
Okay. So, offensively, you are, I can assume, pass first.
Very pass first, yes.
Okay. So, what are your thoughts about having one of the top tier running backs, attribute wise, because maybe he's not a superstar, maybe he's not an X factor, but attribute wise, Travis Etienne is pretty solid. What is your mindset when it comes to these games with utilizing one of your better talents on offense? And does he sometimes get lost in the flow of battle, or how does that work for you usually when it comes to him?
I mean, I use my short passing game as an offset of my running game just because I feel like it's more effective for me. I mean, he does get a lot of catches in the backfield, and I use that as a running game. But if I can, I get him about like 15 carries a game, something like that. So he still gets like a good 25 touches a game no matter what. But
Okay. And sir, you're gonna hate me for saying this. Like you're gonna hate me for saying this,
all
but
right,
I have spoken with Garl multiple times about how his offense works, and you gave me a very similar answer to Garl. I'm just throwing that out there.
Jesus.
Y'all, yeah, hey, y'all might not be too different. I'm just saying. I mean, even with how the offense is constructed, I mean, you got a lot of speed at receiver. I saw that pickup you made with Robbie Anderson. That was solid. But I also saw you trade away Marquise Brown.
I did.
So, and we'll talk about that in a minute. We'll talk about how your roster is constructed in general. But what I'm trying to say is the way that you constructed your offense, a lot of speed at receiver. You got a dominant TE.
They're
You
very
got a
tall
young
too.
quarterback. Yeah, very tall. And you got a young quarterback that you can develop on your own because you have trust or you have faith in your own passing ability. It is very reminiscent to how Garl likes to construct his offenses. Like he was blessed with an Eagles roster this year, but the prior season he had, I believe, the Jets, and he essentially built his team in a very similar way. He had speed at receiver, he had a really good running back, and it Brees Hall?
Mm,
Was Brees Hall in the league
no,
last
he was
year,
a rookie.
or was this? No, okay. So James Robinson, and I think he had no. He had Chris. He traded for Christian McCaffrey. That's
Damn.
right. So yeah, Christian McCaffrey at running back, but he would not run the football consistently. He would maybe run it like 15 times a game, kind of like what you just said. But essentially, it was short passing and then boom over the top, and it was effective. I mean, I think he made the playoffs once last cycle, but it was a lot of having to overcome the fact that he wasn't consistent with the run game and he threw a lot of interceptions and it was a lot of stuff like that. But that's neither here or there. Coming back to you, I'm just saying there's similarities there that I know you're probably not a fan of. But moving on, let's talk about your defense real quick.
All right.
So, defensively, you mentioned already you like your defensive line, you like your pass rush.
I do.
So, my first question is this. You had an opportunity to have Aziz Ojulare and develop him, but instead, you decided to trade him and a pick over to the Green Bay Packers for Jordan Love. So, my question to you is what made you do that trade, and how has that produced positives with your current defense and the way that it's constructed pass rush wise?
I mean, Jordan Love is my hometown boy. I mean, I needed to have him. I was willing to give up whatever for him. And I had Kayvon on the other side, so I wasn't really worrying about pressure because my defensive line was already pretty good. And I mean, I saw that he's like a superstar now or whatever, but I mean, I could afford to lose him because I knew I could just get a different pass rusher. And I did with Matthew Judon. So,
And I thought that was one of the more underrated moves for you to make. that is a pass rush specialist. So
It is.
that was a solid pickup by you for sure. That was solid.
Yeah.
31 years old, yes, but he's an X factor, 91 overall, and he gets after it. I've seen Cody shine with him, and Cody did nothing extra. So I can only imagine with somebody that's really trying their best, like to get a pass rush and knowing how to construct their defensive front in order to get a pass rush. I can only imagine what Judon's going to do for you this year. I'm actually looking forward to it. So you know, that could be dangerous because you play a lot of people in your division besides the Cowboys. You play two others that love airing it out. So I can only imagine what Judon's going to do to those offensive lines.
I got slandered for the move too. It was
Well, I think personally, my opinion, I think trading for older players is maybe not the best way to spend your first round pick resources. But I think if you can get somebody with some really good abilities, such as a Matthew Judon,
with edge
or
threat.
they have attributes that like are very up there comparatively, then I think you can afford to do it because even if they regress a little bit, a lot of their core attributes are so high that the snap happening and you losing some of those points is not going to take away from how dominant the player is.
Yeah.
So that's just my opinion. I know there's some players that are like kind of on the precipice of having some not so great attributes that may have X factor and maybe a little older. Those players, I say you don't trade for. But Judon is probably like just in our league at least. Judon's probably good for the rest of the cycle.
Yeah.
At the very least.
If he was only a superstar, I wouldn't have traded for him. Just but knowing he's an X factor, I know that I'll have those abilities for at least 2 seasons. So that's what made me want to do the deal.
And then it looks like on the other side, you still have Kayvon Thibodeau, which also another super solid, and he's young, outside linebacker. So I mean, defensive front seven is looking pretty good. You still got Dexter Lawrence and Derek Nandi. You got Leonard Williams starting at the right end. You got Marcus Davenport at the left end. I'm assuming you're running a 34 front based on these players that you have.
I am.
It's solid, man. It looks good across the board. So a lot of these players, though, were not here prior to. A lot of these players that you have, they came from various places. So let's talk about that. Let's go through that real quick. So let's talk roster building mentality, okay? So building a roster. Let's talk about that real quick. So for you, prior to this new cycle beginning, we had a franchise. For those that didn't know, we had a franchise before this that made it to season 2, just like we are now. We made it to week 8, but then there was a massive server outage or server issue with Madden with EA, and it screwed us over, and we ended up losing out on a lot of our all of our progress really. So we restarted the league from season 1. We allowed people to put their teams into a team draft pool. We did a randomizer, and then we allowed those people that threw their teams away to draft new teams. And then we gave people the chance of, if they had abilities or anything extra, last Madden or last cycle or last franchise that died, they could get those abilities back and put them onto 2 players that they choose. So everybody got a chance to do that. Unfortunately, the Giants were not good enough roster-wise to be able to pick players. So Nate, unfortunately, was not able to have any players picked for that. So I'm gonna skip that.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about the other ways in which you decided to develop your roster, which it was through trades. So I have a list of trades here. There's quite a few, so bear with me, people. And if I butcher any of these names, whatever, clip me and laugh at me. I don't care. All right. So very first trade you made, which I was a big fan of. I love this trade for you. You traded with the Jacksonville Jaguars. You received a 2023 second round pick. You received halfback Travis Etienne, and you received free safety Andre Cisco, who is still starting. Am I right?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. So you received 3 starters out of that, because I think Shaq Griffin is still your starter. Yep. So you received 3 starters, a very good running back, and you traded away Saquon. Yes, you're losing abilities and everything like that, but knowing what I know of your gameplay now, Saquon really wouldn't have been your speed.
He was very
Like, he
expendable.
would have worked for you. Yeah, because Saquon's someone you got to run it 25 times at, somewhere around there to really get the most out of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have worked out better having somebody like Travis Etienne, which you don't have to feel committed to getting involved in the game plan. You can kind of go a different way if you want to.
He's a safety
So
valve if
I
I
thought
need
that was
him.
exactly, and he's got enough speed for it. So it's a solid trade. I really like that trade. The next trade you had was with the Green Bay Packers. That was the aforementioned Azeez Ojulari and a third-round pick for quarterback Jordan Love, which now I have a greater understanding of your overall appreciation and desire to have Jordan Love on your team. So in my mind, it makes sense. Go get the young guy that Turk is not fond of, like, holding on to, because he has Rodgers, and by the time Rodgers is dead, the cycle will probably be over. So why not trade the young guy for talent? Yes, Azeez Ojulari is now an X factor over with
Ooh,
the Packers,
X
but
Factor now.
yes, he is an X factor, sir. So that did happen, but that does not take away from the fact that that was a solid trade. If you need a quarterback, which you did not obviously have a strong desire to keep using Daniel Jones, and you knew that his contract was running up, go get one. That's my motto. I personally believe that when you're set at quarterback, a lot of the other stuff will work itself out. I myself traded for a young quarterback recently. I gave away a future first and a very good pass rusher. But I knew for sure, based on how I like to play, my calling card is defense. I like secondary, linebackers, linemen. My calling card is defense in general. Like, that's where I butter my bread right there. So I know for sure I'm going to get production out of my pass rush because I'm good at it. So I'm not concerned about losing a player that is very good in that spot when I know I can plug and play and still get production. So I bring that back to you. You knew for sure that you can figure out your pass rush as long as you can get the required pieces that would suit you. Azeez Ojulari maybe didn't fit the timeline that you had in mind. That's fine. You still got a very good quarterback in Jordan Love, and one of the most important things for me, in my opinion, is these traits that these quarterbacks have. So Jordan Love has the ideal sense pressure trait. I'm not sure if you were aware of that. I'm not sure if you pay attention to it.
I do.
But those things are important. People don't think they're important. I'm not going to say any names. But those things are important because whenever you're getting pass rushed and somebody's bearing down on you, getting that throw out just that millisecond before you get hit, whether like that being accurate or inaccurate, is a lot of times going to depend on that trait. If you're ideal or you're average, you have a much better chance of still completing that pass exactly where you want it to go. Anything lower or higher than that, you're either going to fumble or you're going to throw it wild and crazy and throw an interception. So a lot of that stuff is important. Accuracy, attributes matter, but ultimately having those traits are going to help with further developing your quarterback to be able to thrive in those situations where maybe there's a fierce pass rush, but you got to throw the football, you got to air it out, and you're still able to do so. So commendable trade there, sir. I personally like it. Ultimately, I feel like you were able to replace the position very well with Matthew Judon, and you were still able to make more trades, which we're going to get into, to continue to build your roster and then fill that spot you just lost. So the next trade is you had with the Arizona Cardinals. You traded away strong safety Julian Love and cornerback Adoree Jackson for Marquise Brown, which Marquise Brown, again, is no longer on your team, which we'll get to that in a minute. Your next trade was with the New England Patriots. You traded for free safety Devin McCourty and right tackle Isaiah Wynn, which I believe McCourty is retired.
He is.
And I believe Wynn is on your left side now?
He's yep. No, he's still on the right side.
Right side? So
Yep.
is he what, like a guard?
Yeah, he's a guard now.
Yep, here he is. All right, so he's a right guard now, so starting, so that's good. And you did that trade for a fourth-round pick. So you got a free safety that was impactful for, half a season or whatever. You got Isaiah Wynn, who's your starter at right guard, which is solid, and all you gave up was a fourth-round pick. Those later picks, get starters. Why
Yeah.
not? You're drafting for depth. Maybe you accidentally run into a player that could start, but ultimately those players are depth pieces, those fourth round picks and later. If you can trade one of those picks for a starter, maybe they're 27, 28, 29 years old, maybe they're 30 years old. If they can give you quality starts, I say why not. So I like that trade for you as well. I thought that was a solid trade for you, especially since you had playoff aspirations, even though you may have fell short. So those were all the trades you made season one. Let's talk season one off season. So this is where a lot of what your roster looks like now and the strength of your roster comes from these trades right here. So you went back to the well. You traded with the New England Patriots again. You gave up a 2023 first round pick, which was what, pick 18 or something?
17, yeah.
Pick 17 for left outside linebacker Matthew Judon. Again, my own personal opinion, the attributes are high enough to where if you lose a couple of points here and there, this guy is still going to be dominant, and he's very likely to still have abilities. So I personally like the trade. Your next trade was with the Las Vegas Raiders, which I thought this was an absolute steal. I can't tell people how to do their rosters, but I thought this was a steal for you. Left tackle Andrew Thomas, wide receiver Marquise Brown, and tight end Daniel Bellinger for a 2023 first round pick, a 2023 second round pick, tight end Darren Waller, and center Andre James. And so Andre James is currently your starter going into this season.
Yep.
And obviously you have Darren Waller, who is him. So if you remember, tell me who you picked with your 2023 first round pick and your 2023 second round pick that you got in this trade.
I picked the cornerback Daniel Fort with my first round pick. He's 5'10". He's 95 speed.
So I'm gonna read this out to the people. He is 5'10", 21 years old. He runs 95 speed, 91 acceleration, 87 agility, 91 for change of direction. And then he has a man cover and a zone coverage of 72 and 70 respectively, and he has a 75 for press. That's solid. That's really solid. I like that. Okay, and what was your second round pick?
Left tackle Emmett Powell. He's a superstar now too.
Okay, so you got left tackle Emmett Powell, superstar. Does he have an ability? Did they give him one already? Nope, no ability slot. Not until 75 overall. Okay, but you got yourself a left tackle that's a superstar. So you replace Andrew Thomas with a superstar left tackle. You made another trade later, which you're going to get into in a minute, but that's solid. That's solid trading. You get rid of maybe talent that you're okay with losing, such as Andrew Thomas. You get rid of excess, such as Marquise Brown. You get rid of a TE because you're about to get a TE, Daniel Bellinger. You get 2 high picks. You get Darren Waller, who, okay, yes, his contract may cost a little bit, but you're only on the hook for, the cap, and that's it. You're not on the hook for the penalty for the bonus. So that's extra money in your pocket. It may not work for him, but it works for you. Then you get a starting center, Andre James. This, honestly, to me, might be the steal of the offseason. I feel like this is just a phenomenal trade for you. I don't know why the Raiders, which is OG Walker, I don't know why he would do this trade unless he was just really enamored with having that compliment to Davante Adams being someone that can completely stretch the field as much as Hollywood could. But overall, I think this is a steal for you. Just real quick, before we get to the final trade that you made, what was your thoughts about this trade when it was happening? Like when the conversation was happening, when you were like, okay, do I say yes? Do I say no? Or when you sent the trade offer in and you're waiting for that response, like what was happening in your mind with this, if you don't mind me asking?
I mean, when he sent the offer to me, I honestly laughed out loud because I just knew that that was such a bad trade for him. I couldn't say no. But I had to say yes because I signed 2 wide receivers to replace Marquise Brown anyways. So I was like, okay, this is a no-brainer. And I mean, that was just my thought. I instantly said yes.
Yeah, I mean, why not? I mean, I feel like only an idiot that was just in love with Andrew Thomas would say no to that. Otherwise, Marquise Brown, like you said, you signed 2 other receivers. He's expendable. Daniel Bellinger, you're about to upgrade at TE with a freaking monster in Darren Waller. That's easy. So really, in my mind, the trade is Andrew Thomas for a first, a second, and then Andre James. And, I mean, Darren Waller, I guess you could, say Darren Waller too. Because I mean, the other two are expendable pieces.
Yeah.
I don't. I don't know. I just don't understand how this long term helps the Raiders. But again, that's another subject for another podcast. But for you, this was a coup. This was an easy win. So kudos to you on that trade. I thought that was easily the biggest steal. I wouldn't say it was like a rape or anything like that, like maybe other people would say. I would just say that was a giant, like a big time steal for you. I think I understand the perspective of the Raiders. Let me get a franchise left tackle. Let me get a speedy wide receiver to complement Devontae Adams because I throw to the receiver more than I throw to the tight end. Let me get a tight end complement to replace him that has some speed on him. I get all that, but to me, in my mind, like giving up a high value, like 2 high value picks, and you give up a superstar X Factor tight end that is notoriously broken in Madden, yeah, that ain't it, dog. I don't think you should do that. So that's just my opinion.
And he's got to
Yeah,
pay
you probably
both of
shouldn't
them
have did that
too.
trade.
So like, I don't know. I don't know what he's gonna do.
Well, we had a podcast subject not too long ago. It was about people and their trading and stuff like that, and how people are, hey, are they trading to make their roster better, or are they trading just to trade? Well, you fall in line with the idea of building your roster up, and unfortunately, that Raiders side of the trade is definitely trading just to trade, in my opinion. Again, he may have some grandmaster plan with this. I just personally don't see it at the moment. So moving on to the last trade that you made. You made a trade. You traded away, right? So So you traded away free safety Xavier McKinney, and you received right tackler Taylor Motton and a 6th-round pick. So Taylor Motton is currently slotted at left tackle, and he is opposite of Evan Neal. So I'm assuming he's starting. So let me ask you this on that trade. Obviously, you didn't know you were going to draft a left tackle and then him develop into a superstar super fast like that. What are your plans at the tackle position now that you have 3 offensive linemen that play similar spots? Is one of them going to play left guard? Maybe Andre James doesn't play. What are your thoughts about that?
I think what I'm gonna do until he gets abilities is I'm just gonna kick him to center because he is the same overall at center than he is at left tackle, and he is he's not a small guy. So I mean, he's pretty strong too. So I think I can get away with it until he has a couple abilities. So.
Okay. He is 93 strength with the boost. Okay, I can see the vision there. I think a lot of people don't understand this or realize this. And this is another part I'm gonna touch on. When you have these guards and when you have these centers, the interior offensive linemen, yes, they need to be strong. That's obvious. But they also need to be agile, and they need to be able to turn the corner. They need to be able to accelerate. I'm talking speed, acceleration, agility, and change of direction. They need these things because when you're running these plays that are like power runs, or when you're running stretch plays, or when you're running counter plays, or you're running off tackle in general, you want these guards and these centers to be able to like get to the second level, or you want them to be able to help out with a block and then quickly move to like the linebacker that their integrity, their blocking assignment is. You want them to be able to do these things and do so quickly. That's going to help your running game flow very well when your offensive line is quick and agile as well as being strong. So these are underrated attributes that offensive linemen need to have to be successful. Like, I'm going to give y'all a little sauce, give y'all a little game. So this is, if you're listening, here's a little sauce, a little game for y'all. A lot of y'all have tackles that get destroyed in pass pro. And they may have anywhere from a 70 overall to a 90-something overall. They'll still get destroyed in pass pro. You know why? Here's some sauce. Because they're not agile, because they don't have the acceleration, and they don't have the speed to be able to keep up with these ends or these edge players that are easily getting around them. There's a little sauce for y'all. Fix that. Get your more like speedy offensive linemen with good agility and good pass blocking and stuff like that. Get them on the outsides. And that's going to help against a lot of those speed pass rush moves or those power pass rush moves. That's what's going to help against those things. there's a little sauce for y'all. All right. Nate, I'm sure you probably were aware of this, and that's why you chose him instead of Martin to move to interior line.
He
I'm
was,
assuming.
yeah, he was one of the quickest tackles in the draft, I think, as well.
Mm-hmm.
He had
Yeah,
70 speed.
Yeah, 70 speed, 83 acceleration, 71 agility. You got good change of direction. Strong, man. Yeah, this is solid, man. Solid left tackle. Clemson. Solid, solid, solid. So, that's solid, man. And while I'm here, I'm gonna look at the rest of your roster and just kind of show that to the people. Talk about it real quick. So you got Jordan Love starting at quarterback. You got Travis Etienne at running back. Two solid players. You got some speed at receiver, man. You got Slayton, who's a superstar. You got DJ Chark, which thank God he's out of my division. Couldn't stand him. Robbie Anderson, who I attempted initially to get until I realized I wanted to go in a different direction. And then Wan'Dale Robinson, who, hey, you can send him my way. I'm a big Wan'Dale fan, so if you're trying to get rid of him, let me know. I got something.
Right.
And then you got Tyree Cleveland, who I'm not sure if he's going to make your roster or not. 25 years old, 6'2". Is he someone that's going to make your roster?
I already did all my cuts, and I mean,
Okay.
he's my emergency guy.
Okay, so he's here. Then at TE, you got Darren Waller and Drew Sample. Left tackle, Taylor Martin. And you got that aforementioned rookie that's a superstar now. You're going to fit him in at left guard center, somewhere in there. Ben Bretterson, I don't know who he is. Andre James, who you traded for. Isaiah Wynn, who you traded for. Evan Neal, superstar. Nice. Then at left end, you signed Marcus Davenport. I thought that was a solid signing. I like that. Then you got Leonard Williams over on the right end. You got Dexter Lawrence, who is now a superstar. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
Then you got Matthew Judon, left outside linebacker. This is a 34 scheme, by the way. You got Micah McFadden. And you got Carter Coughlin in the middle. And you got Kayvon Thibodeau on the right side, who is injured right now. Did you do some training in that?
Oh, shit, I did.
No, well, Kayvon is dead for week 1. Jesus. Good luck to you on that. The cornerback situation is by far my favorite position group on your team. Shaquille Griffin starting that corner, number 1. Darnay Holmes, he's the number 2 corner overall wise, but I'm pretty sure Daniel Fort's going to start over him.
Yes.
Can I assume that?
Yep.
Okay. Then you have Cordell Flott. He might start over him too.
He will.
Okay. And then you have Clyde Logan. Like, you got some young, talented corners here. I like this. And the one thing I like is that you got some speed here. So you got some good corners and you got some speedy corners. That's really solid for this type of Madden that we're playing this year. Then at free safety, you have Andre Cisco, 23 years old. And then your strong safety, you got Dane Belton. Yeah, I think he's starting. So, yeah, overall, man, roster is very solid. This year coming in, you got all your picks. So you have what's making, like, you start off with a roster that I think was 78 overall total.
Yeah.
Do you know what your roster overall is now?
I don't really I don't got a clue. Oh, it's 81.
Okay, well, shoot, 78 to 81 in the season. That's solid, man. That is solid. So let me ask you this, because we just examined your roster. We just took a look at some of your key players at each position. When you're building your roster, what is, like, okay, bar none, this has to be in place in regards to talent? So not just like, okay, yeah, I want to have a strong front four. I want to have a good pass rush. Like, tell me about that pass rush. Do you feel like you need a great defensive tackle? Do you feel like you need one edge player that can for sure get after it? Do you feel like you just need a whole bunch of guys so that they can kind of level you out on your overall? Maybe your defensibility is not that great, so you need a great defense to kind of level that out. Like, tell me about your offense and defense and the way you construct it all. What is your mindset with all of that?
On offense, I just use whatever quarterback is given to me. But if I don't like them, I trade for a different one. And then probably my 3 most important positions on offense are probably my left tackle, my wide receiver, and then my tight end, obviously. Like, all the other positions, those can be, like, mediocre and I can get away with it. But I need my left tackle and my wide receiver and my tight end to be pretty good. Okay. And then
defensively?
Defense, I just personally, I just want one dude who can get after the quarterback like real quick, and then like one corner who can keep up with anybody and like I can like adjust them to play on their best receiver every game. And probably my safety, I just want a really quick dude who I can use there, which is why I signed those two dudes that are second on my depth chart at safety.
Okay. So, gameplay wise, you're more so like, do you like to use just the lowest rated player? Do you like to user him? Do you like to user the safety primarily, and you'll switch between the safeties, or do you just kind of pick whoever at the time based on the way the person is playing? You'll just kind of user to kind of accommodate like how the other person's playing. Like, what is your mindset with that whenever it comes
On
to?
defense, I usually use her like a certain zone. Like I pick a
Okay.
play and I know what zone I'm in, so then I know what my assignment is, even if I'm in match or not. So like before the play, I pick who I'm going to be on the user with. But it doesn't. I don't really look at my opponent when it comes to who I user. It's more just like what I call defensively that determines that.
Okay, fair enough. I know some people like to, like, let's say if going into the game, like, for instance, I could tell you like so many people when I play them, the first thing they want to do is user a player that is nearest to Justin Jefferson. And it drives me crazy. Like, I get so annoyed with it. They will abandon their zone and responsibility and everything like that, and they will track Justin Jefferson by any means. So I'm forced to go elsewhere, and then I have to take shots with Justin Jefferson because typically where I'm going to be able to eat with Justin Jefferson is if I just throw it as far as I can, because their user more than likely won't be able to keep up, and I'm one on one with whoever is on the outside, whether it be a corner or safety, and then I can just hopefully get a jump ball or something like that. But other than that, um, for me personally, I like to get to the linebacker. I like to kind of get, like, trade them off. Sometimes I use the weak side linebacker. Sometimes I use a strong side. Sometimes I use a Mike. It just depends on what I'm doing, what I'm seeing. Maybe I need to stop the run, so I'll get to the middle linebacker, or maybe I do want to take away the TE, something quick getting to him, so I'll control either the strong side or the weak side linebacker, and then maybe I want to get to the flats because I know there is an RPO that involves some type of underneath another side. I want to user that so I can make sure I take that away and force him to run it or force him to throw a pick. So I'm kind of similar, but I mainly look to the linebackers. I'm most comfortable with them. I'm not comfortable with taking away the deep coverage. I like to let the computer kind of deal with that. Everything underneath, though, I'm willing and ready to kind of get after it. So it's interesting though, because talking to you, talking to others, I kind of hear how other people like to do it, and it seems like everybody has their own thing. Where does that come from with you, with being willing and desiring to, kind of just call your play? You know what you're doing. You're gonna switch to the player in the zone that you're most comfortable with, and you're just gonna run it. Like, what makes you say that that's the way you're gonna do it, and how does that usually work out for you defensively?
I mean, I do it because like no matter what play I call, I know what assignment is who and like who I need to follow if the zone breaks down. And I mean, I really don't give up many big plays because of it, just because I know where everybody should be and when they should be there. And I mean, that's why I'm so like confident in who I use it because I know where I need to go if something doesn't, if Madden Maddens.
Right, right. And I wish more people understood that you know understanding what your defense is and what it's supposed to be doing, and then being able to use her accordingly. So I wish, like, I had to explain 3-rec the other day, and I felt like a lot of people. Well, I had some people message me on the side and be like, "Man, I was supposed to have a person right there." And I'm like, no, not in 3-rec, buddy. Like, it
Yeah.
looks, it looks like a hook, but it's not a hook. It's he's following the third receiver in.
Yeah.
So you gotta know that if that player leaves on a route, guess what? He's following. So it's just stuff like that where I'm personally still learning. A lot of this is like my own self research and actually googling and actually going into different coaching academies online and like really just reading like the manuscripts that they have and just really trying to dive in and just learn myself. And then just coming to Matt and just kind of applying what I've learned and just seeing, and I've seen positive results. And I mean I would strongly, again, I've said this on the other podcast, the One Cut podcast. I would strongly encourage other people to actually go and do their research, man, because it sounds like to me you have that knowledge and you have that understanding, so you're able to call defenses according to down, according to situation, and then user accordingly as well. And that allows you to have a much better defense than a lot of other people have. At least that's what I've noticed with you.
Yeah, I mean, I do tend up to give quite a few of yards because I know what I like to give up. I mean, I don't give up a lot of points unless I'm playing a really good offensive user. But I mean, it is what it is.
Speaking of really good offensive user, this is a portion of the podcast where I ask you general questions. So let me ask you this. Speaking of that, who is the most challenging user you've faced in the SFL thus far, and why?
Ooh, um, I mean, even though I won both games, Malik, he's hard to stop on offense. He's like, I mean, personally, I think he's like one of the best offensive users in the league, like top three probably. But I really haven't played that many guys to know outside of that. But I know LB, he was pretty tough to stop. So it was low scoring, but he kept driving down the field.
Yeah, man, LB is a killer with that. He'll just sustain drives and drive you crazy, and then as soon as he lulls you, man, he got you, and it's a wrap. He always does that. Malik, though, it's interesting that you said that because I was thinking that you were going to say Turk because it seems like the times you've played Turk, he's kind of had your number there. Where does Turk rank on that like scale? Let's say you had 5 users in mind that are challenging. Where would he rank if he would rank in that top 5?
Number 2 for sure, Malik, and then Turk, and then LB.
Okay.
I don't really know where to go after that, but
okay, fair enough. Let me move on to my next question then. Who, besides yourself, is the best user in the NFC East?
Malik, it's not even close.
Okay. Who is the worst user in the NFC East, excluding yourself?
Gomes.
Gomes. Okay. Who is most likely to win a title in the NFC East, including yourself?
I mean, with our current teams.
Mm-hmm. Like if this cycle, like if we just continue playing Madden infinitely, and we just kept playing, who do you feel like of y'all 4, you, Gomes, Garl, and Malik, which one of y'all wins the title first?
If he played well enough, I'd say Garl, just because of how talented his
Really?
team is. Because, I mean, he has a team to do it. He has bright spots, but, I mean, he just does a lot of dumb stuff a lot. So, I mean, if he gets it together, I think he could win a ball.
So, Garl, I call it having a bad Garl game. Garl's out there. If he's listening, he knows what that means. A bad Garl game is when he's just chucking it and no clear direction of what his offense is doing. He's just throwing it, airing it out, and he's throwing lots of picks. It's just don't know why he does it sometimes. Sometimes he just goes into the game and he's just like, I'm not going to read the defense. I'm going to do what I want to do, and you're just going to have to stop it. And then sometimes somebody stops it, and then he's just kind of screwed after that. So, he has those bad Garl games, so I'm not surprised at that. I am surprised that you picked him, but I'm not surprised with, like, if he were having a good Garl game, Garl is pretty difficult to stop, especially with having a loaded roster like the Eagles. So I don't disagree there at all. The one thing I'm surprised about is that you would pick him and not Malik, even though Malik, in your mind, is the best user in the division.
It's just, he's lost, 4 now? Like, I don't know. It's just kind of hard to pick him when he's lost. He's gotten there, but he can't win it.
And sir, he's lost 5.
Damn.
He is 0-5 in Super Bowls in this league.
Damn.
Yeah. And this is extending over 3 Maddens now. So
That's
2
tough.
Maddens before this, last Madden, and this Madden.
That's just tough. But I still
God bless you.
I just can't pick him for that reason.
So you think he would have a much higher chance of going 0-16 in Super Bowls if we just continued infinitely than getting 1 before Garl?
I think Garl could get to another one before he could.
Jesus. That's kind of harsh, man. But hey, I
I love the man, but I don't know.
I mean, it kind of is what it is at the moment. I mean, Malik unfortunately has proven that he is really great in the regular season. He has also proven that in all the games leading up to the Super Bowl, he is really great. But then once that bowl game hits, there's something that goes off that is just different.
He's got that playoff
He's
Rodgers in
talent.
him.
He does, man. He does. Or Peyton Manning or something. I mean, Peyton Manning got one eventually, but how many times did he fail before he got there? And
A
got
lot.
it? So I mean, I don't know, man. Malik is great, but yeah, no, I don't disagree with that. I think he would be hard pressed to win one under the current perception that he has, and that's unfortunately Buffalo leak because
Yeah.
the Buffalo Bills infamously lost like 3 Super Bowls in a row or 2 Super Bowls in a row.
And the way
something like
the way he builds his roster just confuses me because like he doesn't.
that.
I think the teams he faces in the Super Bowl are better for a reason, just because they know how to build a team way better than he does. But
Yeah, I don't disagree there. Malik has this. Malik is probably the worst roster builder in the league. And I don't think I have another team in mind or another user in mind that builds a roster worse than him.
yeah,
Which is crazy because he's probably by far, in my opinion, the second best user in the league.
yeah,
By far. I feel like there's Q, there's a gap, there's Malik, there's a big gap, and then, or excuse me, there's Malik, there's a little bit of a gap, there's Ed, in my opinion, I think there's LB, a small gap, Bird, and then I feel like the rest of the league is after that.
I mean you gotta put
And
TRC
so
up there too. I think he's
TRC is proving himself. I will give him that. I will say TRC is probably below Ed and LB, but probably right next to Bird, in my opinion. I think good Bird with like really just playing his out of his mind with no Malik Willis issues. I think Bird is one of the best users in this league, in my opinion. I know we haven't seen it yet, but when he was using the Raiders last season, he was great.
yeah,
He
no,
was playing
I
really
played
well.
that.
Okay, so yeah, in my opinion, I just feel like he currently is dealing with a team that he's trying to get used to. Malik Willis is not exactly the best quarterback for him at the moment, but he's building him, which is commitment.
He's tough to play with. I played with him and that was not fun.
Wild. Yeah, man, he's wild. Like his attributes are lower right now, and he's erratic. I think that's the word I want to use. He is erratic,
Yeah.
and so working around that is difficult because he can throw a good deep pass, but like the medium, the short, everything else is just a
Yeah.
coin flip.
Respect for trying to build him up though. Like
Yeah, no, and I told him that. Hey, massive respect because I would have abandoned ship. As soon as I would have seen that in one game, I would have been like, oh no, he's got to go, and I would have kicked him to the curb. I would have traded him for some assets. So shout out to him for continually still trying to build his quarterback. I mean, I feel like that's what in real life you would want to do as a team. You don't want to just throw away your high value quarterback and just say,
Yeah.
okay, it's not working. You want to at least try to get him some reps and try to see what he can do long term. So respect the Bird for that. Let me ask you the next question. I actually have 2 more questions, so this one and the last one. From what you've seen so far with this entire league, I don't know how much tape or how many games you actually get to watch and how many other users you get to watch, but out of everybody you've watched so far, give me your top 5 users in the SFL.
I mean I've only been here for a year, so my list might be a lot different than others, but from the games I've watched, it's Q on top, obviously.
Okay.
Ed's got to be number 2. Malik probably number 3. TRC 4 probably, just from what I've seen.
Okay. TRC respect.
5. Yeah, 5 is tough.
5 is tough. Okay.
I mean, there's a lot
Let's see.
of people I could put there.
Krim. Let's see who didn't.
I'll probably go with AC probably, just from what I've watched.
AC.
I think he's been very dominant with Saquon from what I've watched. I mean, it is impressive.
Okay. I like that. I think that's a solid pick. Okay. I like your top 5. TRC is interesting. Okay. Hey, TRC, if you're out there, you're listening, somebody's got some regard for you. Just throwing that out there. Okay. So, last question. Do you by chance have Madden loaded up right now?
I do.
Okay. So I want you to go to your schedule, your team schedule, and we're going to talk about these games of yours that you have, and this will be the last thing we talk about, and then we can call it good. So I'm going to pull up your schedule on my end again. I was about to look at something else, but I'll just run with your schedule and we'll just go through it. Okay. So, are you at your schedule yet?
I do.
Okay. So, looking at your schedule, I want you to walk me through your games that you have. You don't have to explain why, but tell me if it's a win or a loss, and based on your schedule and your final record that you come up with, do you think that'll be enough to make the playoffs?
All right.
So let's start with week 1 against the Bills. Do you feel like you win that game?
Yes.
Okay, so that's 1. Against Miami Dolphins week 2.
Yes.
Okay, that's 2 wins. Against the Rams week 3.
Yes.
Okay, that's 3. You have a very soft schedule to start.
I do.
Against the Cowboys week 4.
I feel like I dropped that one.
Ooh, drops that one. Okay, so that is 3-1. Okay. The Patriots, Cody.
That's a W.
Okay, 4-1. All right, the Raiders, the man that you stole players from.
I mean, he'll be out for vengeance, but I mean, I think I should win that one too.
Okay, so currently we're looking at 5-1. Okay, the Jets, new owner.
I've never watched him play.
Well, you got 6 games before that to watch him.
Yeah, I'm gonna write down the W.
Okay, so that's 6-1. Seahawks, Pat Ladd, the underperformer.
I'm 2-0 against him, so I'll go W.
Okay, 7-1. Now you play against the big dogs.
I do.
The Eagles, week 9.
I'm dropping that one.
Ooh, dropping that one. Honesty, I like it. 7-2 before the bye. Okay, so far I'm looking at your season 7-2. I'm saying Nate's going to the playoffs. Will it happen though? Let's keep looking. Commanders, week 11.
I'll win that one.
Ooh, okay. 3-0 against Malik this cycle. That is an achievement that not a lot of people can say they have. Against me and the Vikings. I did not know I played you. But week 12.
I'm gonna lose that one.
You think so?
I do.
You think Madden's gonna Madden again, huh?
I can't get my hopes up.
All right, well, week 13 against the Cowboys.
I'm beating him this time.
Ah, he finally gets that dub. Okay. Against Malik, again, week 14.
He's taking that one.
Oh, 9-4. Going into the stretch that dictates if you make the playoffs or not. Against the Eagles, Garl.
I'm taking a dub. I don't think he can sweep me.
Ooh, doesn't think a sweep is happening. Garl, I know you listen for the slander. There's no slander here, but he believes that you're not sweeping him. All right. Week 16 against Mike.
That's a win.
Okay, that's 11-4. Against the Arizona Cardinals, that is Dylan.
That's also a win.
That's a dub. 12-4 going against the ex-NFC title game representative, Zach. Do you take that dub or not?
No.
Ooh, that is honesty in its finest. 12-5 ends up being your final record. Okay, so I'm going to say you make the playoffs with this record, so let me ask a different question. Do you win the division with this record?
I think.
That's not an answer. Come on, yes or no?
Shit. No, I'll be a wild card team.
A wild card team. So who do you feel like would have a better chance of being the ones, or the, well, I presume if they have a better than 12-5 record, they're probably either the 1 seed or the 2 seed. So who would be that 1 or 2 seed?
I'm taking Malik again.
Malik. Okay, so Malik back again as the 1 or maybe the 2 seed. Okay, well, that is solid. I respect the candid, honest answers there. I think you have a red carpet to the playoffs, in my personal opinion. That schedule is cheeks. You have
No
like
comment.
a stretch of you have like a stretch of like 7 or 6 games that are like difficult, and I think most of them are your like division, and then the rest are like complete trash. So God bless. It must be nice. My first 3 games are against Turk, and then it's against Q, and then it's against Turk again.
That's
So
that,
guess
that
who's about to be?
that's that third
Yeah,
place
0 and
schedule.
3 is 0 and 3 is staring me in the face. This is a third place schedule I have too.
Oh, really?
Yes, this is my third place schedule
Yeah, that's
because the
tough.
Lions were second place and LB and the Bears were first place. This is my third place schedule. Playing Turk, Q, and then Turk in 3 straight weeks. So I'm not complaining. I'm just pointing out the hypocrisy in the whole process. Anywho, so that's all I have for tonight for the hurdle. Nate, do you have anything else you'd like to share with the people? Any shots you want to give out? Any kudos, shout outs you'd like to give to the people? Anything of the sort?
Um, I mean, the only thing I want to say is, Garl, you're still not winning shit this year. And
Jesus.
Gomes, please just pass the ball better, please.
Jesus.
All
The
right, that's
division taking shots. At the 60-minute mark, you're giving out these shots late. Garl, if you're listening to the podcast and you made it this far, there's your slander. Good luck to you. And good luck to you, Nate, as well. I like your roster. I like your team. I think you'll do a lot better than what people think you'll do. And I look forward to seeing you make the playoffs. I may not be there because my schedule is bad, like for me. But maybe you take my spot and you go shine.
yeah.
Good luck to you this year. Just want to let the people know that episode 4, next, the hurdle with steps, is going to be featuring Dylan and the Arizona Cardinals. I know a lot of y'all have not heard from Dylan too much, but Dylan apparently has a lot to say. That is what he told me in my PMs.
Ooh.
So make sure y'all tune into that. I don't know what direction he's going to go in, but I'm just going to flow with it, and whatever happens, happens. So Nate, thank you again for joining me on the hurdle with steps. I appreciate you and your time. Everybody else, thank y'all for listening. It's week 1. It's time to go have some fun. Good luck to everybody this season. I'll holla at y'all. Peace out.